Senator Cadell.
Thank you, Chair. Interesting answer to first of Senator Antique's questions there. Under Freedom of Information, log 49 document set was your estimates pack for last October that's been given out. I note the first question under the heading, why has the government declined the recommendation to trial age assurance? Was obviously the pack hasn't changed that much. The answer is the same. The department is best placed to speak to the government's response to that roadmap.
Right. We made 6 recommendations. The best recommendations we did based on almost 2 years of looking closely at the issues. I mean, I can't comment on what the government decided to do. As the department said this morning, there wasn't a straight rejection of the age verification trial, and the department is currently scoping that at the moment.
So you've obviously given an opinion. You haven't been gagged on speaking out that it's still valid or still go. You haven't been told to tone it down at all.
No, I've not been told to turn it down. What the guidance that was given to me by the minister was to focus on phase 2 of the codes. There's no reason that a technology trial and the second phase of codes can work in parallel tracks together.
There's no technical imperative whatsoever. No technical barrier whatsoever to roll it out.
No, none whatsoever.
Okay. A speech made by the Minister on age verification delivered on the 28th of November last year. The quote was, "We will seek further options on a pilot and my department will be involved in scoping this work given the need for cross-portfolio engagements." That sounds like it's progressing, but is there any action? Are you talking about that pilot when it'll be after these things? Is there been any progress, real progress towards the pilot?
We have started some discussions with the government. Of course, we were following the EU consent trials very closely, and that was the basis for which we made the recommendation about a trial. We've also been, as I said, engaging with regulators around the globe and some that have run age verification trials, and I'd say probably not as effectively as we would like to see. For instance, really using site-based requirements where companies that were porn companies that were trying to do the right thing by enabling age verification, that created a form of friction, which meant that people went to other places, and you can find, if you look at our research, the average age a child comes across pornography is about 13, and that's usually unintentional. And by the time they're 16, a vast majority has come across it. 70% see this on porn sites, but 60% see this on social media. So there are platforms like Twitter X and Reddit that allow porn. So we need to look, and this is why the codes are important in looking up and down the stack. The search engines have a role. The app stores have a role. The social media sites have a role. It's not going to be kind of point by point. And what we have suggested based on what we have seen and the scoping that we have done is a double-blind tokenized approach to make sure that privacy is being protected at all and you're not preventing adults from accessing legal content themselves.
So a takeaway from an early part of that is that some adult porn companies tried to do something good or right and they were punished by the market and so they've stopped doing it, have they? Or
yes, that is what we are told by some of them. Some of these are massive conglomerates who I guess you would say take a pragmatic approach. They want to sell premium content, and most people under the age of 18 don't have credit cards and cannot buy that premium content. So in some ways, it behooves them to make sure that they have adults visiting their sites to pay for that premium content.
Is it only willpower stopping a trial in Australia at the moment?
Willpower?
Yeah, a decision? Is that the only thing of the minister?
No,
stopping a trial?
I think we're feeling some momentum behind this work, and that's great to see.
So you said that some of the age verification trials weren't to a standard you would like. Do you think you are at a very good standard to advise, and have you advised the minister on the way you'd like to see that trial rolled out?
Just last week, I spoke to both the minister and the department about some thoughts we have around trial design and where to look for scoping.
Okay, so very crudely and rudely, I'm going on my government device now. If I just type in porn on my phone, this will bite me on the bum somewhere.
Ross.
You will find it all over.
So I get straight away, and I click onto the first
Oh,
one.
my God. Really? Do you have to?
No.
Senator, you should have your parental controls.
So I
on.
get the
Come
age
on.
verification.
Trust me,
I'm
he
18.
does need parental control.
So all I've got is I'm 18 or older. Enter on the site. If I click that, is there any follow up from that? If I can, so pretend I'm 13. I can. What will happen if I click?
So-
there's no barrier.
You're making a really important point here. So age assurance is the difference.
There is no barrier.
Is there a bailiff in here that might take him away? Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought.
Trust me, we
I'm with
all
you.
did.
So currently what we see a lot of sites, including social media sites that enable pornography, doing is what we call age gating, which is basically asking a child or a person what their age is, and you can put anything in, and, we were all young once, we all prevaricate. They're not really taking any meaningful steps to validate or estimate that age. There are varying levels of assurance from age gating to age estimation to the highest level, which is age verification. We are not entirely sure. Again, through the codes process, this is the industry's codes, that we can reach the full standard of age verification, but we will try and push them to go as high as we possibly can to make sure that they're achieving appropriate community safeguards. But this is exactly the challenge. And again, I talked about this technological exceptionalism where governments haven't moved on this. I started working on age verification in 2008. And, we're finally seeing some momentum over the past couple of years, that the ecosystem is now mature enough that we could architect an age verification trial that could work. The technologies are evolving. The age assurance industry is maturing. So I think the time is right now that we all move forward.
Must be some frustration if it's all there. And my phone is back to the messaging app. It's not doing anything else. In your report, you were talking about deepfakes. You were talking about all these sorts of things. Have you had any liaison or consent on part of the Joint Standing Committee on Electoral Matters too with the Australian Electoral Commission? Because one of the matters that came up, and I think we were there, I think Senator Grogan, you were on that as well, was about the 3-day blackout that applies to traditional media on TV but not on thing. Looking at deepfake now, my concern is it's probably more important to blackout on digital medias and stuff like this, because deepfake, I could do a video of Senator Grogan saying don't vote for Labor, I was a Labor member all the time and they are bad people, the day before, and it's impossible to take down in time, isn't it?
So there are a whole range of issues there. Deepfakes, and specifically deepfake porn, is covered under our image-based abuse scheme.
Yep.
And we are starting to see reports, and we've taken action against a particular Australian individual that has been creating deepfake porn against prominent and everyday Australian women and girls. So we're using those powers. We're seeing synthetic child sexual abuse material as well. It's only a matter of time. I expect that we will start to see sophisticated deepfakes that could be used to cause serious harm and be captured under our adult cyber abuse scheme. And in fact, at Davos, the whole focus was that collision of AI, and particularly generative AI, deepfakes, geopolitics, the fact that there are 4 billion people who are going to be impacted by elections. I've started to do some presentations around social media self-defense and what I call sustained gender trolling, because as many of the women here can speak to, women, the way that online abuse towards women manifests differently than it does towards men. And we're seeing much more sustained, consistent, diffuse, attenuated forms of abuse targeting women. and sometimes it's coordinated. It's not always dis or misinformation, but it is designed to question a woman's competence, undermine her confidence, and ultimately cause her to self-censor. So we need to give more women the tools to be able to protect themselves online. And it's not a fair fight, because there are algorithms and recommender engines and powerful generative AI tools that don't have adequate digital safeguards, and deepfake detection tools are seriously lagging behind the power of these technologies, and they're being weaponized. And no, you can't always tell by looking at a deepfake if it's real or not. But by the time it goes viral, and by the time you can validate that, it can be seen as potentially true, or rolling that back is very, very difficult. So it's a big concern, and we have engaged with the Australian Electoral Commission.
Yes.
Do you want to
Yes,
talk about
that's
that?
right. Senator, we were engaged with the AEC last year in relation to matters involving the Voice campaign. It was a very productive discussion. We've actually developed a very strong relationship with them. I imagine these kinds of issues will continue to come up in our forums. And in fact, the Commissioner will be meeting the Australian-New Zealand electoral commissioners next month to discuss our role and our powers, and hope that is a good forum for us to start to explore some of these issues too.
You know, we're starting to see so much of this spill into real-world harm.
Yeah.
With electoral officials and the like. And, you know, I want to give Commissioner Rogers great credit. He's done a really great job around the online elements of elections. And, you know, he's seen as a true global leader in this space.
You used some interesting words there in the break between deep fake and synthetic. So where is society, where is industry drawing the line between synthetic and deep fake? So if I attack a female by putting her likeness on a deep fake pornography thing versus creating a generic, like, if we draw a stick, anatomically incorrect stick figure versus a photo, there is a line that goes along there. Where does it become?
Well, a deep fake is just that. It's using advanced technologies to create the visual and sometimes audio perception that somebody is doing something that they're not really doing or saying. What we mean by synthetic, say, child sexual abuse material is where a pedophile can say, my predilection is I like, you know, something,
Yeah.
and they're creating this, and we're talking to our law enforcement counterparts. We're starting to see it. What we're really concerned about is it's becoming so photorealistic. We're already crippled by the tsunami of child sexual abuse that we're seeing. If we're diverting resources, and particularly law enforcement that are trying to identify victims to save them, then if they're spending time
Chasing fake,
chasing shadows, or chasing a synthetic person, a child that doesn't exist, that is really concerning over time.
Wow. Well, thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for the answers.
Thank you.
Chair.